Hey everybody, good Wednesday morning. Now I'm really excited to give you another update today on my journey towards advanced German fluency. We just did that on Monday, and normally these updates are a bit, more spread apart, but I had some really fascinating experiences already just in the last couple of days. And I'm going to use that to also discuss, again, this idea that it can be so powerful to strategically combine different methods of reading, right? In this case, sort of extensive versus intensive methods. So that's our topic for today. I've got my really nice, small, light blue mug. I don't use this one as often, but I just love the color. So let's jump into today's topic. Okay, so if you saw Monday's video, then you will know that I was really excited because I finally finished all of the core lessons of Babbel German, which is really nice. They've got lots of courses ranging from sort of beginner, intermediate, and then what they call independent, which I guess is their version of advanced. And that was really, really exciting. And so if we take a look at my activity tracking sheet once more, you'll see all that beautiful orange filling that top left quadrant, which is all the Babbel stuff. But you'll also notice in the bottom left, there's a gorgeous line of blue, indicating that I've actually already finished the first beginner graded reader that I had lined up in German. And this is really, really exciting because I actually read that whole book in a single day. And of course, I'm super busy. I've got loads of other things going on. So reading it in a single day, that means that I read it basically in a short session in the morning with my coffee and my breakfast, and then a short session sort of in the late afternoon in this case. So that's really, really exciting for me. And I know that these are beginner graded readers. I'm starting off with the series by André, Klein. I'll also leave a link to any of the stuff that I mentioned today in the description, which, full disclosure, will be an Amazon affiliate link. If you happen to be able to buy these at a local bookshop, please do so. I'm not sure how available these are. But yeah, so these are, beginner graded readers. So this is not, something super exciting and crazy to shout from the rooftops. But the thing is, I've read these before several years ago, and I remember them being, pleasant to read, but it took me some time. This was not something that I could just, blast through like that. And I specifically remember, just trying to wrap my head around the different noun cases, different grammatical things. I remember having to pay really close attention to certain prepositions, which would indicate or require certain noun cases, and I remember that it was just a slower process, and it certainly took a lot more cognitive effort. And this time it was just delightfully smooth and comfortable. And like I said, I could just blast through a chapter in a minute or two. And so it's a measure of progress for me, right? It's really, really exciting. I've never been able to read anything that quickly in German. So there were a few new words here and there, in some cases just one on a page, in some cases more than that. And I was reading it on my sort of Kindle on the iPad. And so, you can see the book here. That's Cafe in Berlin. And then if we flip over a few pages, we get to the first chapter. Here it is. So what I was doing is, you might notice, I was basically just highlighting little words here and there as I went. And that's all I really did. Words that I wasn't super sure about, like for example, this word was fleißig, which means very diligent. I didn't know that word. Really useful. So I just highlighted it and just moved on. And I also highlighted words that I guessed and I was pretty confident with, just as a way to keep me focused and keep me engaged. But what I want to focus on now is this potential question of, well, if it's so simple and comfortable and easy, maybe I should just move straight over to the intermediate books, which are also by André Klein. And I've chosen his series that's meant for intermediate learners, and it's more of a sort of crime and detective series. And by the way, really quickly, one of my awesome eagle-eyed viewers did actually remember. So on Monday, I said that those were brand new for me and I've never read them before. But it turns out several years ago, when I was documenting getting back into German before, I did actually begin the first book in that series. I read the first 3 chapters. I went back and watched the video, but I never finished it. And then that's when life got crazy, and I wasn't doing German basically ever since that time. So yeah, it's not correct that I've never seen them before. I guess I did read the first 3 chapters of the first book. But so yeah, you could say, well, maybe I should just go straight over to the intermediate ones, which are a bit more challenging. But let's remember that what I said recently is that if we take something like extensive reading and that approach to reading a book, and I think that what I'm doing with this graded reader certainly qualifies as extensive reading. I would say I probably do understand a pretty solid 98%. Frankly, it feels like it might be a bit lower than that just because there are sometimes 3 or 4 words on a page, but it certainly feels very, very comfortable. I'm using an extensive reading approach, so I'm not stopping and taking notes, not writing things down. I'm not even using a dictionary until the end of a chapter, right? So I'll highlight a word as I'm going through, but that's all I'm doing, just a quick highlight. And then at the end of the chapter, there's like a glossary, so I'll quickly glance. But yeah, I think what I'm doing qualifies as extensive reading. I'm certainly reading at a very high pace, right? And there's a really great value in that. So even if I'm not necessarily learning a ton of new words, the thing is I am still learning new words. As you saw, there are still some really useful words like fleißig. That's a really cool word, diligent. I didn't know that, right? And there's also a lot more I'm getting from it, right? Because every single time I see a noun, for example, in this book, well, German's a language that has genders for its nouns, right? And so that's reinforcing my knowledge of genders. Every time I see certain constructions, certain noun cases, all this stuff, like that's just reinforcing my knowledge of all of that. Not to mention just boosting the vocabulary that I already know. It's great to see it over and over again. But it also does stuff like what I talked about with Jared in my series on extensive reading, which I'll link below. It builds things like automatic processing. It's building my fluency. It's building my reading speed. It's building my ability to just take in German language and just process it into meaning in this fluid stream that like doesn't require pausing or like going back and reading it a second time. So there's a lot of value there, and that's what I'm doing here. So part of my message today is reinforcing what I've said before, which is that it's not just about blindly following, okay, cool, extensive reading is the best. Got it. That's what people say. Cool, only do extensive reading. First of all, as I've said before, I don't think that's true. I think that if you only do extensive reading, and if you only do extensive reading as defined by the Extensive Reading Foundation and the sort of academics behind that research, then I think you're missing out on an absolutely critical component of the learning process, which is struggling, right? And I've talked about that recently in several videos that, you know, if you want to get to reading these novels that I have on my bookshelf, you don't get there through only ever focusing on stuff that you can understand 98% of, right? Or if you get there, it's going to be a very, very, very long time. Once you go out in the real world and start engaging in a language with real native speakers in real environments, you need to be comfortable with a certain level of ambiguity and struggle, which I think is one of the benefits you get from, you know, intensive reading. So I don't think that you should just blindly follow, but the point is that I think extensive reading and intensive reading both are different tools for different things, and I think they both have their merits and also their shortcomings. But the second thing, I guess B, is that it's about being intentional, right? It's about knowing why you're doing a certain thing. So in this case, I'm doing extensive reading right now, and I know why I'm doing it. I'm aware that, okay, it's going to be a little bit easier, but it has lots of benefits. It's building my confidence tremendously. It's just such a nice feeling to be able to read something and to finish a whole little book in a day, no matter how simple it might be, right? And then it's also doing all the other stuff I talked about, with reinforcing all my knowledge, building that automatic processing. But after this, I'll go on to the intermediate books. And to be fair, I don't know how challenging those will be for me. I do think they're, you know, a decent step up from these, but I also remember the chapters being very, very short. So maybe those are going to be still in the extensive range, I'm not sure. But I do know that at a certain point, and it's looking like it's not going to be too far in the future, I will pick up this book that I showed on Monday, Ein ganzes Leben, and this is going to be my first novel in German. And I can guarantee that's going to be really difficult. And I'll probably be engaging in a level of intensive reading there. And again, the point there is that I'm aware of why I'll be doing that. So that's kind of it today. I just wanted to share that. I'm so excited to be blasting through these beginner graded readers. I've had these on my list for so long, and you know, the intermediate books on the right hand side, if you go back when I showed the tracking sheet, I've had those on my list forever as well. And so it's just so exciting to be finally completing things, finally just finishing stuff. And that's why I love having these tracking sheets. I love it, love it, love it, love it, because I can always come back and see the stuff that I had already taken all that time and effort to organize, to pick out things I wanted to do. So yeah, I can't wait. Oh my God, I can't wait for this sheet to be just absolutely full and complete. I really can't wait for this. Like, reading my first novel in German is going to be such a journey, and I'll be bringing all of you along with me, that's for sure. Okay, everybody, please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know how your language learning is going this week, and I would love to hear from you if you also have filled out a tracking sheet. I have a whole video tutorial on that, which I'll link below. Anyway, let's take one more sip of coffee in there, and I'll see you back here on Friday for a really nice conversation with a really nice person. Don't miss it.